Welcome to the Haggis Reddit. Today's threads come from r/AskReddit, and we're going to be covering the responses to the following topics. We'll be asking medical professionals of Reddit what the dumbest thing they've seen in their career is with patients. We'll be asking, why were you ashamed of yourself like never before? And before you die, what do you want your last words to be? As always, it'd be great to get you involved in the comments section and give me your own responses as well. Medical professionals of Reddit, have you ever had a patient so lacking in common sense you wondered how they made it this far? If so, what is your story? There is a reason the instructions for prescription suppositories say unwrap and insert. And not just insert. Paramedic here. Elderly woman complains that her mouth is dry and she felt a bit dizzy climbing the stairs earlier. Go through the whole rigmarole of getting a medical history, vitals, more details on symptoms, ask her what she's had to drink today. A cup of tea 10 hours ago. Any water? No. Guess what fixed it within 5 minutes? Not me, but my mother would pick up shifts as a nurse sometimes in labour and delivery, and she met a handful of women who didn't know the baby was going to be coming out of their lady parts. Like, no clue. My mum usually said something like, "How you got it in is how it's coming out, honey." This was the late 90s, early 2000s. I wonder what they thought the baby would come out of instead of their lady parts. Like, they expect to just vomit it up? Poop it out? Or would it just burst out from their stomach like that alien from the movie? Ha ha! Rural ER doc here. 35-year-old female walks in with right-sided jaw/neck swelling. I think it happened because I ate some meat yesterday that my body is reacting to. 10 minutes later, oh yeah, and I accidentally swallowed a bee and it stung me in my mouth right before this happened. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. Had a buddy who was an EMT. He was called out to a location for a gunshot wound. Apparently what happened is a father was mowing his lawn when he accidentally touched part of the mower near the engine and burnt his hand. He got mad at the lawnmower, pulled out his pistol and shot it. The bullet ricocheted and hit his son in the leg. I'm in the ER. So many stories. The one that left me dumbfounded was a woman who was brought in by her sister for pelvic cramps, amenorrhea for 3 months. Lo and behold, she's pregnant. Sister informs me that she sleeps with the Brazilian construction workers building the condo complex next door. I ask if they have any questions. The patient asked me if her baby would come out speaking Spanish. After a long pause and her sister staring at the ceiling, I told her, no, because they speak Portuguese in Brazil. Patient seemed relieved and the sister hustled her out of the ER before I could discharge her. Saw a chart once where a person came in for a burn to their eye. They told the doctor they read online that warm milk in the eye can help with irritation and their eyes were irritated. So they boiled milk and then poured it in their eye. Burned it all. Had a patient come in for facial burns because he smoked while wearing his oxygen. Twice. In the same week. Optometrist here. If I had a nickel for every time someone said they use urine for eye drops, I would have 10 cents, which is not a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. Now, I am not a medical professional, but I used to be a firefighter, and I've seen a few weird and wonderful things in that job, one of which was attending a road traffic collision on a quiet country road. This was a straight road. By the time we got there, a car was on its roof, and it actually rolled over several times. We asked the woman what had happened, and she said there was nothing on the road. She didn't know what had happened. She just suddenly lost control of the vehicle and, they just turned over several times. And then she asked us to recover her mobile phone because she had no idea what it was. So when I went inside the car to get it, it was strangely at the driver's seat underneath her pedals. And yeah, so then we start to go, I wonder what could have caused your car to lose control. Of course, that would be jumping to conclusions, because with a car rolling over several times, the phone could have been anywhere, right? Why were you ashamed of yourself like never before? I mean, nobody wants to admit they ate 9 cans of ravioli, but I did. I'm ashamed of myself. The first can doesn't count. Then you get to the second and third, fourth and fifth I think I burnt with a blowtorch, and then I just kept eating. My friend, admitting your mistake is the first step towards healing. In this case, healing both your mind and your gastrointestinal system. I've made plenty of those mistakes. I will share here with you the most recent. I'm ashamed to admit that 2 weeks ago I ate an entire 8-count package of hot dogs in one sitting, microwaved with no bun and no condiments. I don't know why. I was hungry and my stomach said it would be more delicious than the most sweetest nectar from the garden of the gods. I was a fool to believe the lies of the snake within my gut, a prime example of the folly of man. I paid for my crimes dearly. The sound of shattering porcelain still echoes through my mind, and the monumental earthquakes still ripple through my stomach. I have paid. I have repented. But only now I can begin to heal. I was never the most patient person, and I despise being late for things. My wife, kids and I were going to walk down and hang out at a neighbour's house for the evening. They were taking forever, and my wife kept stalling and we were going to be late. I yelled at all of them to hurry up and proceeded to be annoyed the whole walk down. When we walked in, it was a surprise party for me. She was delaying because they hadn't finished the decorations yet. Felt like a complete piece of garbage. This was 10 years ago and it still bothers me. Definitely taught me to be a more patient person though. I've unintentionally hurt my mum's feelings as a kid with no filter. Except I was like 10 or 11. It was right after my parents divorced and my mum and siblings and I moved. Mum made enchiladas for dinner one night and they were quite good if I remember correctly, but there was something missing. So later on she asked how I liked them and without thinking I blurted out, "Dad's enchiladas are better," and ran back upstairs to my room to play video games. Come back downstairs a little later and Mum's crying on the couch. It was at that moment I knew I messed up. Back in elementary school, my class, including me, I won't play victim here, we made fun of the nice teacher so much that he started crying. I've never felt so ashamed of myself until that moment. I still feel like garbage up to this day. I've never seen him again after elementary school, so I never had the chance to say sorry. I door-dashed myself 4 sets of Twinkies from the gas station down the street. I, male, once failed to control a mediocre fart mid-conversation with a female co-worker friend when she was talking. I heard her small stumble mid-sentence. She recovered well. I blushed like a baby and had troubles talking forward, but she recovered our conversation. She did it flawlessly. Chad conversation piloting skills 10 out of 10. But now when I see her, I sometimes mentally facepalm myself. A mediocre fart. I love the implication that had it been a higher quality fart, you would have shamelessly blasted it mid-conversation without the faintest hint of regret. I am really embarrassed to share one of my own stories, but I'm gonna do it in the spirit of honesty. The first time I felt real shame, as it is something I didn't actually understand until I was about 12 years old. One of my first girlfriends ever. I was just talking to her at the bottom of the school lane, and when I spoke to her, whatever we were talking about, she just said back to me, "Whoa," and then waved her hand in front of her mouth, and I had no idea what was going on. The next day she broke up with me and sent her friend to tell me, but unfortunately I was with 3 of my other friends, so they all heard this. She said the reason that she broke up with me was because I had bad breath. Now at that time I didn't realise things like, you know, brushing your tongue was a good idea for oral hygiene, but I did learn after that. Before you die, what do you want your last words to be? I bet I can jump that far. 'Tis but a scratch. Erase my browser history. Before we continue with this life, I'd like to thank our sponsor, Lord V. Hold my beer. To infinity and beyond. You'll never take me alive. Goodbye, student loan officer. Hey, look over there. Then they look back, and I'm out. Life is a scam. Don't live as long as I did.
Self-destruction initiated. 3, 2, 1.
Want to see a dead body? I left $1 million in the... dies. I'm afraid I don't have anything that can compete with what I've just read out to you, but if I had to decide my own last words on this earth, they would be to my children. And I would say, will the 3 of you please stop arguing? That's going to do it for this episode. Why don't you toss a like to the Haggis if you enjoyed this video, and please consider subscribing for daily uploads. Catch you on the next one. Later.